The night was colder than anything the valley had seen in years, a heavy silence wrapping the landscape like a frozen blanket as rancher Cole Maddox stepped out of his barn with a lantern in hand, his boots crunching through the thick snow that had swallowed the ranch grounds. Snow drifted lightly from the sky, shimmering in the lantern's glow, and for a moment, everything felt eerily peaceful until he spotted a small shape, standing on the wooden porch of his cabin. Cole frowned, blinking through the flakes, because at first he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. But the closer he stepped, the clearer the sight became. A little girl, no more than 6 or 7, blonde curls tangled with snowflakes, cheeks bitten red by the cold, wearing an oversized red winter dress and holding a worn-out cloth doll against her chest as if it were her only shield against the world. Cole's heartbeat kicked up. No child should be wandering this land alone. He approached slowly, lowering himself to one knee, lantern glowing warm and golden between them as he asked gently, "Sweetheart, what are you doing here?" The girl lifted her eyes, filled with fear and exhaustion, and whispered words that froze Cole deeper than the winter wind ever could. "Sir, my mom didn't come home last night." The tremble in her voice sliced straight into him. Cole took a slow breath, studying her tiny hands wrapped tightly around the doll, the snow clinging to her boots, the desperation in her blue eyes. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Lila," she murmured. "Mama works at the Barrow Lodge. She left yesterday morning, but she didn't come back. I waited all night and then all day, but she still didn't come. The storm kept getting worse and I got scared, so I followed her tracks. But the snow covered them, and then I got lost." Her voice cracked, and she looked down as though she feared she'd done something wrong. Cole felt a burn rise behind his ribs. This little girl had wandered miles in a deadly storm just to find help. He opened the cabin door and guided her inside, settling her near the fire, wrapping her in a blanket that swallowed her small frame, and placing a warm cup of milk in her hands. As she sipped, Cole leaned against the table, arms folded, mind racing. "Lila, did anything strange happen before your mama left?" She nodded slowly. "A man came to the house. Mama didn't like him. She told him to leave. He got mad." Cole stiffened. The Barrow Lodge was known for drawing rough men, drifters with sharp eyes and sharper tempers. He had seen Lila's mother there before, a kind woman who worked long, thankless hours just to feed her child. She deserved none of the trouble that seemed to have caught her. Lila's voice wavered again. "Last night, I heard a man outside, a deep voice, like the angry one." Cole's jaw tightened. Fear, anger, and urgency churned together in his veins. A missing woman, a threatening stranger, and a storm that erased tracks like a thief erasing evidence. He stood abruptly, grabbing his coat, gloves, rope, and the pistol holstered near the door, not out of violence, but because he knew the wilderness too well to walk into the unknown unprepared. Lila's head jerked up in terror. "You're not leaving me, right?" That small, trembling sentence nearly shattered him. Cole knelt beside her, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "I'm not leaving you. You and I are going together. I'm not letting you out of my sight." Relief washed over her face as she nodded. Bravely, Cole scooped her into his arms as they stepped back out into the storm, closing the cabin door behind them. He lifted her onto the horse and mounted behind her, wrapping his arm around her small body to shield her from the cutting wind. The lantern swung from the saddle, casting circles of golden light across the snow as the storm swallowed the world around them. They rode toward the ridge, the route Lila believed her mother took, snow slapping their faces, wind howling like a warning through the trees. But Cole didn't slow down. Lila clutched her doll tightly, breath shaky, but held her head high. Every so often she glanced back at him, and Cole tightened his grip around her protectively. "It's all right, sweetheart," he murmured. "We're going to find her." And with the storm pressing around them, rancher and child rode deeper into the snowy wilderness, following nothing but hope, courage, and the faintest thread of faith that Lila's mother was still somewhere out there, alive, waiting to be found. The storm thickened as Cole and Lila pressed deeper into the forest, the lantern's glow fighting to stay alive against the swirling snow that clawed at their faces and blurred the world into a maze of white shadows. Cole's hands tightened around the reins, eyes scanning every broken branch, every indentation, every flicker of movement between the trees as Lila leaned against him for warmth. Silent except for the occasional shiver, hours seemed to pass in frozen silence until they reached the narrow ridge trail. Lila mentioned, an old, icy path carved dangerously close to the cliffs. Cole dismounted and lifted Lila down, his boots sinking into the deep snow as he searched the ground. Most tracks were long buried beneath fresh snowfall, but something caught his eye, a piece of fabric snagged on a thorn bush, half frozen and fluttering weakly in the wind. He tugged it free, recognizing it instantly, from the nights he had seen Lila's mother riding home from work. "This is hers," he said quietly. Lila's breath caught, eyes filling with tears. "Mama, she was here." Cole nodded, heart pounding with equal parts hope and dread. "We're close." He lifted Lila back onto the horse and guided them forward on foot, using the lantern to search the sides of the narrow ridge. Minutes passed like hours until suddenly Lila stiffened, pointing frantically into the darkness. "Sir, I hear something." Cole froze. At first he heard nothing but wind, but then a faint cry carried through the snow. A woman's cry. Cole didn't hesitate. He pushed through branches, sliding down a small slope until the lantern revealed a figure half buried beneath snow near a fallen log. Lila's mother. Her face was pale, her lips blue, her leg pinned under the weight of the collapsed timber. "Mama!" Lila screamed, scrambling toward her. But Cole caught her just in time before she slipped on the icy slope. He set the lantern down, knelt beside the injured woman, and checked her breathing. Weak, but still there. Her eyes fluttered open. "Lila, you found me," she whispered, voice fragile as glass. Tears streamed down the little girl's face as she clutched her mother's hand. Cole wasted no time. He planted his feet, braced his body, and with every ounce of strength he had, lifted the heavy log enough to drag her leg free. She winced in pain but remained conscious, clinging to her daughter. Cole wrapped her leg, lifted her in his arms, and climbed the slope carefully while Lila followed close behind. Getting her onto the horse was difficult, but once she was settled, Cole climbed up behind them, holding both mother and daughter against him as he urged the horse back toward the ranch, through the murderous cold. The journey back was agony, wind slicing their faces, snow piling onto their clothes, darkness threatening at every corner, but eventually the warm, orange glow of Cole's cabin appeared through the storm like a miracle. Inside, Cole laid Lila's mother near the fire and worked quickly, warming towels, checking her pulse, giving her heated tea, wrapping her wounds and praying silently she would make it. Hours passed before her breathing steadied and color crept back into her cheeks. Lila never left her side, holding her hand with a grip so small, yet filled with oceans of love. When Lila's mother finally opened her eyes fully, she whispered, "You saved me." But Cole shook his head gently. "Your little girl did," he said softly. "She never gave up on you." The woman looked at Lila with tears of pride, pulling her close into her arms. Cole stepped outside, letting the cold night air wash over him as the storm finally began to clear, moonlight returning to the sky. He breathed deeply, feeling something settle inside him, something like peace, something like purpose. Behind him, the cabin glowed with warmth and life, a stark contrast to the frozen world outside. Tonight, hope had defeated fear. Tonight, love had conquered the storm. Tonight, because of one brave little girl, a family was whole again. And before we close this emotional journey, if you felt the power of this story, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss another heart-touching tale. Your support helps us bring more stories of courage, hope, and humanity to life. Like, share, and comment to keep this channel growing, and thank you for being part of this beautiful storytelling family.